Welcome, everyone, to the Pick Six podcast, where we discuss the best stories in college football. I'm your host, Chris Chang, and joining me for a special weekly recap, we have our boy, Rudy Tamarchio, in the house. Rudy! Yeah. Rudy, let's not waste a second. Let's jump in. It was business as usual at Hard Rock this past Saturday as put the B to A to Bethune-Cookman. Final score 45-3. Kind of what we all were expecting. What were your thoughts on the game?
Just happy with how it went from top to bottom. I mean, we were a little nitpicky there at the beginning. That
Mm-hmm.
one targeting call on Wesley Basaint to start
Oh,
the
yeah.
opening,
Come on.
defensive possession was a little weird. But
Absolutely.
other than that, I mean, look, it was nice to see. Yeah, it's Bethune-Cookman. Like, we're not going to say that this was a spectacular performance by our guys in the sense of like they really rose to the occasion or anything like that. But to see a Miami team uh, give up a lot of field position on penalties defensively and still come away with nearly pitching a shutout was really good to see. I mean, a couple of red zone possessions where you have an interception in the end zone, you force a turnover, like that was great. That was old school Miami football. That's what I wanted to see for a long time. It was good to see, and good to see so many second and third stringers get some time.
Yeah, and I mean, just highlighting the penalties, because I thought kind of like quite the opposite. Not the quite the opposite, but just different. I thought it was pretty good. 4 penalties for 50 yards. I don't think that's bad, especially considering kind of where we've been at years past. And, with a game like Bethune-Cookman, you can overlook it. You can let your discipline slide a little bit. I thought they played pretty sound. And especially when you look at the game and you see that it was really the tale of two Miamis, right? So I had it written down for my preview, which I wasn't able to record, just because last week was crazy as hell. But I was saying it was going to be a 48-14, with the first team exiting by the half, midway through the third, but pretty close. I think the first team went 5 for 5 on their possessions in terms of touchdowns, five possessions, 5 touchdowns, which I thought was phenomenal. I thought, again, the reason why I said it was a tale of two Miamis is because I'm not sure if you felt this way, but watching the game and being in the stadium, um, the first team is where Miami, I feel like, is on the trajectory and where we're going. The second team that came out midway through the third quarter and finished the game out, I feel like that's the Miami that's been here for the last probably decade or so. And you can see in real time the evolution of the program as you watch these. Like I said, I don't want to call them second stringers, because I mean, you had the fourth and fifth string running backs coming in to help out. What did you get? What was the sense that you got between the two halves, or the difference in the two teams?
Uh, Defensively, I noticed a couple of things in the sense of like it's probably just the scheme also, where at this point, like they're just trying to not get anybody hurt. So
Right.
I think because Miami has to play with so much depth on the defense anyway, that you're seeing a lot of like what you would call second string or the guys who are in rotation for the defensive line. I think the secondary, it's just a matter of depth. We know that Miami went into the portal and got a bunch of guys, specifically defensive backs. So those are your starters, and some of the guys who are still back there, I think there was already a dismissal from the team from somebody else who, like just this past week, that happened, Markeith Williams. So a lot of evolution still that's happening there on that end. So nothing too worrisome. What I thought was interesting was seeing Emory Williams play with a chip on his shoulder in that second half when he came in relief of Carson Beck. And you see, he has like a decent run, gets a good stiff arm on a defender, pretty much like starts barking at him in his face. Went,
Yeah.
huh? Emory's playing with an edge. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
that'll get him
Well,
some respect.
yeah, I think and again, I don't mean, excuse me, I don't mean this. Okay, well, I think first, let me just say this. A lot of people will go into this game or look at this game and be like, who cares, this Bethune-Cookman? I think there was a lot of great things that came out of this game in terms of uh, confidence, in terms of checking things off. That, because, like, again, when you look at um, Ohio State playing Grambling, you look at maybe even an Oregon playing in Oklahoma State, or a lot of teams playing these directional schools, they'll run the score up 70, 60 to whatever. You can look at a Bethune-Cookman and be like, how did Miami only get 45-3? Again, that's why I'm stating and bringing this right to the point. For half a game, we played our second string. We played our
Yeah.
second team. And with that, again, you can kind of see, not to say that there's a stark drop off, but you can see if you don't hit the portal, if you don't hit on recruits like we have the last couple years, you could see where Miami was. And that's why I said the second team. And again, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the second team, but it was just something that I noticed where I was just like, wow, we really have something here in our first team. Our first team is really, really special. Again, I think the second team that came in, they got the job done. They looked good. They still, did what they were supposed to do to Bethune-Cookman, which I think was goal number two. Goal number one, obviously, being come out unscathed, no injuries, right? Number two, I think, is elite teams do elite things to programs like Bethune-Cookman, right? To lesser teams. Like we weren't like hanging around. We weren't pulling a Florida, right? For all intents and purposes. You know what I mean? Like even you look at other teams, which we'll talk about later on in the show, like an LSU who played Louisiana Tech. Like when you're an elite team, if you go through years past, elite teams just walk over inferior opponents. It's just that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, you look at Miami's of the past, that's what we're supposed to do. And I think it was a great sign to see Miami pull and clear the bench, pull their stars and clear the bench for the second half, and still create that level of dominance. I mean, I thought Emery looked pretty good. What did Emery? He was 8 for 12 for 77 yards. They really didn't throw the ball that too much. I think they really were kind of just giving Pringle and Wheatley Humphrey their little snacks, saying, hey, we know we're not going to play you a lot this year, but we're going to give you a ton in this Bethune game. And they got it. You know what I mean? Gerard Pringle getting that touchdown to really seal the deal for the game. I thought that was a great a showing for him. But again, what I really highlighted, and I wrote this in my notes, is we are watching in real time the Miami program go to that elite level. I think you're seeing it. I know people will say, yeah, it's Bethune-Cookman, but yes, in years past, we may have had to keep Ja'Cory Harris, or we may have had to keep Rozier, or we may have insert, Sam Morris, whoever you want to insert what quarterback and what players till the fourth quarter. And we were able to pull those guys early enough on and say, hey, we're getting ready for USF. Right. And that's like something I feel like your Georgias, your Alabamas of the past, your Ohio States, that's what they were doing. And I feel like we are now getting to that upper echelon.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see too that like Carson Beck, for example, in only 2.5 quarters of work, sets a Miami record with going 15 for 15 in his first passing attempts of the game, surpassing that Vinny Testaverde
Yeah.
1986 record. Vinny went 14 for 14, his jersey number at Miami, by the way. And then Carson Beck going 15 for 15. And it wasn't like every single throw was a check down. There was that touchdown pass to CJ Daniels start off the game was a deep ball that was just perfectly thrown and nicely placed. And I think something that we learned that we already knew, but I think what kind of came out of this game too was that like you saw CJ Daniels is your guy in that short
Yep.
yardage situation. If you don't want to run the ball and you want to throw like an end zone fade or something like that, like CJ is your box out, jump up, get that 50-50 ball kind of receiver. I think someone that they were hoping back in the Mark Richt era that like Lawrence Cager, for example, was going to become for Miami before he transferred to Georgia. They've got that in CJ Daniels now. And then in terms of Malachi Toney, he's your possession receiver. He's your guy that is your everything. He's basically your new Xavier Restrepo, which I think most people thought would happen, but it's nice to see it actually coming true.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny to see the script be flipped, and I think it was extremely apparent in this game that Miami went from, well, who are the guys, to how many guys do we have? Because I mean, everyone showed up and showed out. I mean, just looking at the stat line, I mean, Malachi Toney had 80 yards, CJ Daniels had 73, Dalen Upshaw had 26. I mean, you've got at least looks like what, 8 receivers here or more, but let's say 8 receivers with 20 plus yards in this game. I mean, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. And it really speaks to Carson Beck's talent. Again, it's still early in the season and I don't want to sound like too much of a homer, but I'm going to say this with my chest. I think Miami is absolutely one of the best teams in the country right now. I think when you've got a quarterback like Carson Beck, who is quickly putting his critics to shame and quieting all the hush about him. I think you've got guys like Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels who are quickly proven that they are ready for the spotlight. They are ready to make those contested catches. Because that's the thing too. Like Bethune-Cookman, yes, they are technically an inferior opponent. They're not. It's not the same talent, but it's not like CJ Daniels and Malachi Toney were 3 or 4 players ahead of them. Like they were going up and getting contested balls and still coming down with them, which gives me hope that when you play more elite talent, that even if they are being challenged, this won't be the first time. It's not like they're going to be uh, trying to get contested balls for the first time. And I again am looking forward to the rest of the season, watching the rest of the country. And when I say we can keep up with any of them, I'm saying that now fully. I think we can genuinely keep up with any team in the nation at this point with our defense. I think our defense looks great. How do you feel about, I mean, we lost Wesley Bissainthe super early, so I know that's going to kind of throw off the dynamics. It's going to throw off the chemistry in the middle between him and Mo Torre. The jury is still out for me on the linebacker room. What are your thoughts on the linebacker room?
Yeah, jury's still kind of out. I mean, I think the only thing you can get is that there's a decent amount of practice that they got for USF this week in playing Bethune-Cookman, because they run that
Mm-hmm.
up-tempo offense too, and they try to run a lot of motions and stuff. Not necessarily as mobile of a quarterback at
Right.
Bethune, but I think they got some experience with it. But what I have noticed, it's not so much an indictment on the linebackers as it is just a compliment to the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of our turnovers this season, outside of like one, are all generated from the front four. Almost all
Yeah.
of the pressure, almost all the tackle for losses are generated off the front four, which is great. That's what you want to see. I mean, when you
Yeah.
can force fumbles at the line of scrimmage, when you can get in the backfield and make tackles for losses and strip sacks and all that kind of stuff, that's all what you want to see. It just, again, like you said, it kind of keeps this question mark over the linebacking core of, are they holding up their end, or are they being kind of masked by really, really good play in front of them?
Yeah, and I'm even looking at our nickel Keontae Scott. Like that could also play a factor because he has been balling out all season. I mean,
Mhm.
Corey Heatherman is dialing something up with those cornerbacks and specifically in that nickel position that I think is really giving help to that line, but also it's a great backup to those linebackers as well. So if anything gets through, and I'm just like, again, I'm not sure whether it's like we were so bad last year that this year everything looks incredible, or if we have a phenomenal secondary. You know what I mean? Like I'm still, the jury's still out, and that I think, like I said, I think we'll know. Realistically, I thought it would be by week 4. I think after we play FSU, we'll really kind of know where we're at in terms of our secondary. But so far, I feel really good with our defense. Like I would almost say we're back to our old ways as a Miami defense, right? Like it's like stout D line. Like Ruben Bain is a menace. I mean, he might as well just set up shop in the backfield for every team we play at this point, because I don't know who's stopping him. There's not a I can't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and then anyone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I don't think there's a right tackle, because he plays left on the left side of the defense. Like I can't think of a tackle that's gonna be able to run with him.
Yeah, and they do a good job of switching out too. Because I remember I watched the first couple of series of Bethune. He was flipped on the other side with Akeem Mesidor. So they're
Yeah.
they're they're versatile enough to where if they want to flip to the left side or the right side to try to take advantage of a mismatch of some sort, they can do that. Blay, that other defensive tackle, is also doing
Mhm.
fantastic. Ahmad Moten's getting in there on his
Yeah, David
rotations
Blay's
too.
a beast,
Like,
man. And Moten, yeah,
yeah,
obviously. And
yeah.
Marquise Lightfoot, let's give him some love too. Marquise Lightfoot had a great day. 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles, 1 for a loss. Like again, the reason why I want to highlight people like Marquise Lightfoot, because these aren't guys that we brought in through the portal. These are homegrown, developed players. And again, these are the little things you want to pay attention to in games like Bethune-Cookman, because you could quickly overlook this, and especially now with USF beating Florida and that now becoming a a more important game than what we thought it was at the beginning of the season. We're seeing in these smaller games players step up. We're seeing the talent that was brought in, that's been developed, rise to the occasion and produce. And again, I know all the haters, first thing they're going to say is Bethune-Cookman, but again, elite teams put away inferior opponents, and I think that's exactly what we did. And I'm feeling pretty confident going into USF.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I mean, look, people can poo-poo on Bethune-Cookman all they want, but Miami also came off of a week where they played Notre Dame on a Sunday. So it's
Yep.
one less day that they had to prepare. Not like you need a whole lot of time to prepare for Bethune anyway, but it's just a matter of, you've already shown yourself against top 10 caliber offenses, a team that played for the national championship last year. So they're a hell of a lot better than they were last year, especially defensively. Even if this is not a team that's let's say it's not an elite Miami defense of the past, just something that's competent for 85% of the game is good enough as of right now at this point of the season. Will that be good enough for the rest of the year? We don't know. But as of right now, very happy with where things stand. You were talking about that nickel position and how much better that play has been. That's a position that Miami has struggled with for a very, very long time since defense have really evolved into more of a 5 defensive back kind of scheme as a standard, given all the passing in college football. I mean, I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember this, but there was a time where it was either the last of the Rick years or the beginning of the Manny Diaz years. They tried to rebrand a position on the field. And they wanted to call him the striker, which was
Oh,
basically that
yes.
back already as it was. That was always a position that just never seemed to work that well. Where like in the Rick years, it was kind of this like oversized defensive back that was more of a safety, but needed to play more like linebacker, that became more undersized, that wasn't good in run stopping, but wasn't good in pass protection either. Or not pass protection, but pass defense. It sounds like we've got this figured out now. I don't know why it
It
took
feels like
Miami.
that, right? Like there's like this weird, it's again, because I think we've just been traumatized over the last 2 decades with Miami that we're like, I don't want to say we're back and I don't want to say we're legit, but it's like the more I watch and the more I really kind of go through this with a fine-tooth comb, the offense, again, is it Cam Ward and the aerial attack we had last year? No, but it's not far off. It's not far off. If let's say Cam Ward was 100, I'm saying we're firing at a minimum of 88% to 90% of our offensive output, right? And then defense is like night and day. I mean, we're swarming to the ball. I'm not sure how you feel when you watch. To me, I have a confidence in our defense at this point. To me, it's more like I don't actually even see the um the explosive play coming. It would be more of a shock as opposed to last year. I was like, okay, this is the explosive play. Here it comes. Here it comes. Whereas this year, I'm like, no, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, last year was very much like the exception to the rule because I think here's the thing: as Miami fans, we all have that same "I'm ready to be hurt again" kind of like mentality when it comes to the
Right.
season. So, like that last drive for Notre Dame, Week 1, that was still out of my head. That was still the old Miami fan speaking. It's like, my girlfriend saying, "Oh my God, they just tied the game. We're gonna go down and like we have to kick a field goal or something like that to win the game. We score too early. We give like a minute plus on the clock." And all I could think of is, all right, defense, you get a stop, the game's over, and that's what you're
Yep.
looking for. But when you were watching last year's team and the last couple of defenses,
Oof.
something that I think we've all kind of pain to watch, even like the 2 years ago where Miami was starting to start making those inroads, like those Emory Williams backup games at the end of the season where we beat Clemson and all that, where it looked a
Yeah.
little bit better. Something that even then didn't really make much sense is that Miami struggled to play with a lead. They could not ever play with a lead. You can go up
Right.
14, you can go up 7. It was almost guaranteed that after a scoring drive, the opposing team would just march right down the field and either tie it up or retake the lead or whatever. So the fact that we have that confidence again to say something like, "Hey, we're going to kick the ball and good luck. You have to drive it down our side of the field. Good, try it."
Yeah,
Not with that.
and even the to me, I think there's also a discipline and an attitude where you see Bethune-Cookman driving down, they get to like within the 10-yard line, and we get that interception on that fourth down, I think it was. Like that Corey Heatherman has his guys dialed in. You know what I mean? And I think that it's those little things, right? Where because the defense could have let them scored 42-10. Who cares, right? But to Corey Heatherman, it was important. I mean, I'm not speaking for him, but I feel like it was important for him to not allow Bethune-Cookman to get a touchdown. You know what I mean? And those
100%.
players. So again, this isn't like, oh my God, we've gotten the answer to but I think we're putting the puzzle pieces in, and they're illuminating a picture of a season that I think is looking very, very bright.
Yeah, it's also a lesson learned from the previous week where, like, remember that scramble play where CJ Carr was able to throw that easy
Yes.
touchdown pass? So
Yep.
that fourth down interception was off of another one of those kind
It's
of
very,
scramble
yep.
plays with
Exactly.
quarterbacks running for his life. And I remember when he was getting ready to throw the ball, all I could think of was, okay,
Not
who's open
again.
in the end zone this time?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Exactly. It was incredible. Again, I'm just very proud of the little things that we're taking care of that lead to big things. That's my main thing I wanted to get away with this Bethune-Cookman review. Moving over, because we got the win, Miami is now entering the top 5 of the AP poll. We've got Ohio State at number 1, Penn State number 2, LSU number 3, Oregon switching spots with Georgia after their definitive win against Oklahoma State, and then rounding out the top 5. Anything in the top 25, Rudy, that sticks out to you?
There's a few things in the top 25 that I find a little odd. USF is up, which is good. I think,
Mm-hmm.
what did they end up at? They're like, what,
They're at
17 or something like
18.
that? 18.
18.
I was hoping maybe to have them up to like 15. I think that's about right. Florida dropping out completely is
Deserved.
fine. Makes
Yep.
sense.
Absolutely.
Florida State, I think, jumped up a little too high, to be honest with you. I mean, it's going to be, yes, they beat Alabama. Yes, Alabama was 8 in the country at the time when they played them. It just goes back to that conversation we had last year about how much do we really want to weigh the preseason rankings and the first early season rankings, because
Right.
look, it's for Miami fans. I don't think we want to complain that Florida State's jumped up too high. I think it's something that we all want to see because you want that
Right.
to be a top 10 matchup in Tallahassee. I just don't know if that was justified yet, given what we've seen so far from college football. And then same thing when it comes to, I'm fine with Georgia dropping out of the top 5. That makes sense. I mean, they had a lightning affected game, but still, when you're only putting up 28 on Austin P, I don't care how short the game is, unless they only had 4 drives in the entire game for possession, then that's just, it's a little suspect watching their offensive line play. What did Clemson fall to, or did they stay in
Clemson
there
played
since?
Troy, but they only beat Troy by hold on, let me
They looked awful.
No,
They
they
looked
looked.
awful.
I'm gonna address Clemson in
Hot
my
takes.
hot takes, because
Okay.
I'm probably gonna say something that's not gonna make a lot of people happy. But Clemson barely beat Troy 27-16. I mean, they were able
Yeah.
to shut them out in the second half, but they were down 16-0 going into the half, which
Yeah, for
wild.
me, I thought maybe they would drop in the rankings a little bit more with that, even though they won. I think what it shows is that like the rankings places that were changed last week don't necessarily mean much, because you didn't really see a lot of impressive performances, I think, against games where they should have had a marquee matchup, or games like, for example, the Oklahoma-Michigan game. I think
Yeah.
Oklahoma really didn't climb much in the rankings. I think they were like 13 and 18 when they played each other. And I think they stayed around those positions. So they're expecting to say, okay, the higher ranked team won at home. That makes sense. Not penalizing either of those teams too much. But I think it goes back like kind of when I started on this little rant here, was just that, like we talked about last year, where those rankings at the beginning don't really mean much. I think the same thing with the top 25 right now. It doesn't look like there's a lot of elite teams in college football. I think you're looking at maybe there's like 3 or 4 right now that have separated themselves that look really, really good. And everybody else is just trying to play catch up and see where they end up at the end of the season, if they can get back to that same level. I think we saw that with the college football playoff last year, where it's like Penn State looked like nothing, and then they got better as the playoff went on. Notre Dame, kind of the same thing, where they didn't look good at the beginning, and they ended up becoming, playing for the national championship. Oregon kind of puttered out at the end because they almost played Ohio State 3 times in the same season. So Ohio State came back from, that near letdown at the end of the season against Michigan to win it all. So I think it just, right now there's not many teams that are really standing out.
Yeah, for me, I thought USF is way too low. I see USF as a top 15 team. If you put Alabama, you put an Oregon logo on the side of their helmets, and they beat Boise State, they blow Boise State out, they beat Florida at home, who I can't, I'll do this in my hot take too. I just can't wrap my mind around why everyone is just, it's like, you have to believe people when they tell you who you are. And Billy Napier is Billy Napier, and Florida is Florida, and we gotta let that go. Okay, Florida's not back. It's not coming back. It's like fetch. Okay, it's never gonna be a thing. Okay, shout out to Mean Girls.
Hmm.
But what stood out to me is 11 out of 16 SEC schools are ranked. I hate this. I can't
Yeah.
I can't begin to tell you how much I hate the AP season preseason. I even have to change that probably in post, but I have preseason up there. Um, this is why preseason is such a problem, right? Because you shove all these ACC and Big Ten teams in here, and then you just kind of like hope that like they like kind of just like hold it out for like the first 6 weeks, and then maybe you can kind of dissect. But like when you look at like kind of like the fractions and how everything's broken down, you've got, like I said, 11 out of 16 SEC schools ranked in the top 25. You've got 3 Big 12, 3 ACC, 1 G5, 1 independent, and then I don't know how many Big 10, but I'm sure it's probably what we got 1, 2. 3, 4. You got over 6 Big Ten schools. So it's like this whole thing of like 4-4, 2-2, 1-1. Like this, we're
Yeah,
falling into this
18 over
narrative.
25 is 2 conferences.
It's like, yeah, it's to me, we're falling into this narrative, and it's absolutely obnoxious. Like number 25, like why isn't Vanderbilt ranked? Like, who has Mizzou played? Like, and I don't understand why Missouri always gets love when their schedule is vanilla as hell. There's nothing like striking against it. It's not like they play like the best teams in the SEC every year, right? Then on top of that, when they do play good teams, they lose to them and they fall out of the top 25 almost every year at some point. It's like, why? What is the intrigue behind Mizzou? I mean, don't get me wrong. Bo Prabula, I think his name is, the transfer from Penn State, looked great, and he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC right now. But like, I just don't understand how you can have a Vanderbilt team who blew the doors off Virginia Tech, right? Not ranked, but a team like South Carolina who was struggling against Virginia Tech in week 1 is at number 11. Like, make it make
Yeah, well,
sense. Like make the math make sense to me, because it's not making sense to me.
put some respect on Diego Pavia's name, and at
Yo,
the
for
same time
real.
too, yeah, the only like shining moment for Mizzou every single year is when they play Florida at home. That's about the only time that they had a quality win, and like you've already said, we have to stop talking about them as a quality win.
Yeah,
I guess the one shocker for me is LSU in the top 5, because that was a Clemson win that was supposed to look better than it was supposed to be,
that's
and
in my hot
neither of
takes
them
too.
looked very good.
I got a hot take on that bad boy as well.
Yeah, but yeah, so talking about how like 18 of the top 25 are Big Ten and SEC schools, it's just lazy at this point. It's really what it is. It's
It
lazy.
is. And I feel like a lot of these writers, they're not watching the game. And again, I'm not
No,
trying to sound like a homer right now, but it's like, who have a lot of these? I mean, the only team I feel truly comfortable with where they're at, 2 teams, Ohio State and Oregon. Oregon blew the doors off Oklahoma. Not Oklahoma State is not a good team, but still, it's a Power 4 team. You know what I
yep.
mean? And considering what they're working with, like they had very similar questions as us. Questionable spot of QB. Who, like, how is he gonna work out as a first year? They lost their starting and star wide receiver for the year. Like, who's gonna be the go-to guy to throw to? You know what I mean? Like, they had some similar issues, or not issues, questions heading into the season. I think they're quickly addressing them. And speaking of Oregon, I will add them to my hot take as well. But before we move to the hot takes, 3 quick questions for you. So we've got Clemson at 12, right? Missing in this, again, this is my ACC bias. Where's Georgia Tech? They play Georgia Tech this week. What do we do with Clemson if they lose to Georgia Tech this weekend? Which is a probability, by the way. That's not like out of the realm of possibility.
Not at all.
Do they stay in the top 25?
How do they lose? To me, it's how do they lose? Like for me, it's do they get? Are they in it? Do they lose it at the last second? Do they lose it off of a field goal as it expires? I mean, Georgia Tech has a pretty good resume this season for what they've done. I mean, right. I can't remember who their week 1 opponent was.
It was Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, look, Colorado is not exactly the greatest team around right now, but still, that was a decent win to go into Boulder to start your season and do. I would say
still overcome 3 turnovers, by the way. They had 3 turnovers, which was wild.
If Clemson loses that game and it's really close, is it in Atlanta, or is that also in the what, they don't call it Death Valley anymore since LSU won there. Now it's called what, it's like critical but stable condition valley.
It's life support valley. Hospice valley. They know it's in Atlanta. It's in ATL, which is, again, that's why I said, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, if I told you, like, if you came to me a week from today and was like, hey, yeah, Georgia Tech beat Clemson, I would be like, yeah, I definitely could see that. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. I think they love to kiss up to Clemson. I think they stay at 25, and I think they move Georgia Tech up to like 18 or something like that. That's what I would think happens.
All right, second question. What happens to number 15 Tennessee if they lose to UGA?
I don't think they go that far.
Because to me, I feel like when you get around 16 to 25, you're playing for your spot. You lose, you're out, basically, right? Yep. 15 isn't off the realm of possibility. Tennessee, like where do they go? You know, because it's like they're not terrible, but I also am like, I'm not sure if I'm really feeling Tennessee this year
I,
because again, they lost Nico Imaliava. Granted, Aguilar looks great for them. Questions.
and
Still have questions.
UCLA is 0 and UCLA is 0 for 0 and 2 right now. I think with Nico at quarterback, they lost
Yep.
to Hawaii and they got absolutely stomped this past weekend too. I forget who they played. It was nobody special again. So
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to say is they're high on Aguilar, mostly in the sense of it's the Josh Heupel system, which is I think is really funny since Josh Heupel came from a school that was all about system quarterbacks too. So to see that he's doing that over at Tennessee, makes sense. I think it goes back to how they lose. Like it's one of those where if they keep it close with Georgia and then they look the part, they'll probably stay somewhere in the same position that they were. Maybe they drop one spot. If they get the doors absolutely blown off of them after how bad Georgia looked the week before, I could see them falling. But since it's a SEC on SEC crime, you're probably not going to see them fall out of the top 25 unless it's like 70-0.
Yeah, because I mean, Tennessee has been putting up points. They just put up on I think it's Eastern Tennessee or something. They put 70 something points up. So like, I mean, it's not like they're struggling on offense, kind of like where it was last year. Like they were kind of sputtering out after midway through the season. Had to really rely on. I think his name was Simpson, their running back.
Yep.
Last question about the top 25 because again, this involves SEC and it involves our week 1 opponent. What do we do with the loser of the Notre Dame Texas A&M? So Texas A&M right now is at number 16. It falls into it's just outside that bubble, like I said, of 17 to 25. You're playing for your spot. Texas A&M undefeated right now, 2-0. Irish 0-1. If Texas A&M loses, they go 2-1. Notre Dame goes 1-1. What do we do with the loser of this game?
It's tough, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at this
because
one.
again,
It's in
like
South Bend. This is in South Bend this time because did Notre Dame go there last year and win?
Mm-hmm, yep, it's in South Bend.
Revenge game for Texas A&M, but they're on the road. The thing for me is that it's hard for me to see Notre Dame go 0-2 to start the year because I'm not a believer in Texas A&M. Like I know Mike Elko is trying to do some great things there, and they're 2-0, but I just don't see that program. If last year was their year, and if they didn't do it then, they're not going to do it now. So I think again, it's an SEC school against a traditional blue blood team on the road. They're probably not going to suffer that much in the loss, especially if they end up 2-1. And then Notre Dame at 1-1 is sitting pretty, and they're still in their playoff contention hopes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously cheering for Notre Dame. I want all the teams we play to be as successful as possible so that we look good. But like you, I'm like, I mean, Notre Dame's at 8. I'm assuming you can't have they're not going to be in the top 25, 0-2. And then it would be very hard for me to keep a Texas A&M team at 16 in the top 25 if they lose to Notre Dame when they really haven't beaten anybody. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They've only beaten University of Texas San Antonio and Utah State. And they've
Yeah.
and both teams put up over 20 points.
And by the way, that UTSA game doesn't look very good anymore because they lost to Texas State this past week.
Hey, watch out for Texas State. Texas State, they're putting money in that program. They're actually up and up. Yeah, their Bobcats are coming through. They're going to be in the Pac-12 next year, right?
Oh, are they one of those teams?
Yeah, they're one of the teams that are going to be in the Pac-12 next year. So don't sleep on Texas State. They're on the up and up.
The Rio Grande coast of the Pacific.
Yeah. Which is really funny. I was watching an interview with their because again, in the summer I get bored and I was watching this random interview with their AD after they got accepted into the Pac-12, and they're actually raising money for as small of a school as they are. They're like, you watch their trajectory and it's wild. You're like, okay, money really does help. Money can really buy you happiness in football.
Was San Marcos one of the city limit signs you would pass during your reporting days in Texas between Waco and all of that, or is San Marcos completely off the reservation?
That's the thing people don't truly recognize about Texas is it's like its own continent. Like even Dallas to Waco is like 4+ hours or like 3.5 hours. And then where I was in Killeen, which is like the dead center of the state, it's like 5 hours. Austin's an hour and a half from 2 hours from Waco. Then you have like another 3 hours to Houston. Like nothing is like within an hour drive. Like all the main cities you think of are 3+ hours away from each other. It's a huge state. Like it's enormous. Everything's better.
I had to go to Port Aransas for a tournament this year, and yeah, needless to say, we were crushing the numbers. If something happened to our last flight to get into town, where it's like, are we driving 5 hours, 6 hours from Dallas to get there,
Yeah,
or
pretty
are we
much.
trying to drive another 4.5 from San Antonio? Yeah, it was not pleasant to think about, and yeah, it's a
No,
lot
it
of
is literally the definition of the "Are we there?" state. Like that's
yeah.
all you're gonna keep asking is, "Are we there yet?"
I think it's 10 hours to go from El Paso to like Houston or something like that.
Oh, I would
It's
not doubt that
nuts.
at all. Yeah, I would not doubt that at all. It took us like when I was moving out of that state to get out of the state to get to Louisiana. It took a full day, like of
Yeah.
driving. So it was yeah, it was long. All right, Rudy, it's time for me to piss off a bunch of people.
I'm
And the
here for
first
it.
place, and the first place I'm gonna. This is my first hot take. Okay, and it's technically I wrote this down last week as a hot take, but I just carrying it over, and it's like kind of like double stamped. And you know where I'm starting? We're starting in Gainesville. Florida is garbage. Florida is a garbage program. They are terrible. Billy Napier is a terrible coach. He cannot coach. He cannot recruit. I don't care who he's brought to the program. If Billy Napier was at any other school besides Florida, he would not get the kids he would get. He is horrible. Horrible. And you're probably thinking, Chris, they almost beat South Florida. Almost beating South Florida, it should never be said if you're a Florida coach first. That's my first thing. Like that should not like if we are remotely in a game with USF, no offense to USF going into this weekend, I'll preview that later this week. No, I'm pissed as a Miami fan. And even more so as a Gator, because you guys have been more relevant in the last 20 years than we have. Okay. So, like, that's the first thing. Second is like, where do you come to this conclusion, Chris? Well, I mean, the body of work speaks for itself over the last 3 seasons, but let's just go. I want to dial in to the final drive Florida has. You're under 3 minutes. 3 minutes and you're up 1 point. Rudy, what do you do? 3 minutes, up 1 point. What are you supposed to do as a coach?
Do you think you run the ball?
You run the
Do you think you run the ball?
damn ball. First down, you throw it. Why? Why? Then you run it on second. I'm like, okay, got their brain together. And then on third, they throw it again. I'm like literally like I'm not like cheering for Florida, but I'm just like, what are you doing? Like this is just coaching malpractice. Like if you thought the Georgia Tech like non-kneel was a bad decision, I think this is by far way worse to me. Like
Well, there was also a timeout that I keep hearing. I have not watched that replay yet to know where the timeout should have been taken, but apparently something that everyone's been screaming about is that there was a egregious misuse of timeouts.
no.
Do you want to fill me in on what that was?
I can't even remotely do that because it's to me that final drive is so egregious. And it's so, again, it's to me, it's equal to Mario's like non-kneel against Georgia Tech. Like you basically gave the game away. You know what I mean? At worst comes to worst, you bleed the clock till you get to 2 minutes, and then you punt the ball away. Like that is literally the worst case scenario. Actually, I think you probably, if you would have ran the ball all 3 times, and if you would have utilized DJ Lagway's legs, I think you probably would have gotten a first down. And at the best case scenario for USF, if Billy would have played it right, they would have maybe gotten the ball back with 30 seconds. Maybe. Maybe. But any resemblance to intelligent coaching, UF would have walked out of that game. I mean, they would have only won by 1, and that would have been its own story and would have been its own problem for Billy. But when I tell you, like, people are like making this next thing, like, oh, like, I think you sent it to me. It was like, oh, oh no, it was in a group chat. They were saying, oh, a lot of the UF recruits are still sticking with Billy because Notre Dame lost to University of Northern Illinois last year and still made it to the national championship. Let me say this as clearly and as unemotionally as I can. Notre Dame's schedule last year was literally an open book test compared to Florida's schedule, remaining schedule. Florida has to play their next 4 games against ranked opponents. 2 of them away. There is no way they are running the table. There is no. I would, you know what? Let's actually look this up just so I don't speak completely out of my ass, because I don't want to speak completely out of my ass. I don't mind speaking out of my ass, but like completely out of my ass, like let's just pump the brakes there, okay? But let's look at
It's also
Florida's
in Yeah, it's how you play the game too. Because I think something that I found really interesting is, Gator fans were talking about like they were able to put like an asterisk and note that the beginning of their like ultimate downfall was the shoe throwing incident where they lost to LSU,
Oh
and
yeah,
now
yeah,
they're
yeah.
adding the spitting incident that literally happened within a couple of days
Again, horrible
after the
discipline.
Eagles game.
And then
Right.
did
So
you
you're
did you
talking
hear
about
did you hear the rumor of what that player said to Billy
nope,
in the locker room? So
no,
apparently there's a rumor going around
he sneezed.
that Billy checked that player and was like, "We don't do that here." And then that player goes, "Well, I wouldn't have had to have do that if we didn't have to deal with your soft ass play calling." Yikes. It's like mommy hit daddy at the dinner table and we're all still trying to eat. That's
And if that's the case and the recruits are still wanting to go to Florida, you can keep those recruits because you don't
oh,
want those
abs.
kind of kids anywhere else.
Oh, no, 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 no. And so when I tell you Florida is a dead program, okay, next game LSU at LSU, then us, then Texas A&M. Then you might say, "Oh, next is Mississippi State. There's a dub." Mississippi State just beat Arizona State
Yeah.
convincingly. They were the Big 12 champion. They were in the CFP last year. That's not a team to play with, okay? It's not a team. That's not a team. I don't think they're going to beat Mississippi State. Then they have Georgia. Then they have Kentucky. You're thinking, "Oh, it's Kentucky." You can't count Mark Stoops out. I mean, the guy literally, I don't know how he does it. He's like, he's built a career on keeping up with teams when he should be losing every game, like getting blown out, but somehow he does it, right? Then Old Miss, not going to beat Old Miss. Then Tennessee, not going to beat Tennessee. And I'm convinced they're definitely not going to beat Florida State. There's no way. I mean, unless like barring unless we come to find out that Florida State is bigger frauds than Florida is, which I don't know how you get to that point. But I digress. Unless Florida State is a bigger fraud than Florida State,
I would go
Florida's
off
gonna
of
win max 2 more games, and
yeah,
that
I
would
would
be
go off of like the Florida State example is like their offense is USF's on steroids in the sense of like they run super fast and they run super soft. So they don't play as physical as like a South Florida does. It's a matter of whether their defense is as good. I mean, look, they played really great against Bama. It looked like Bama had other plans. They didn't want to be there. They had a brunch appointment. They had a date. Something happened. They
yeah.
they wanted to
They
be.
had
I
their
mean,
girlfriends over late the night before. They were
right?
ordering too much pizza the night
Yeah.
before.
Nobody wanted to be at Woke Campbell that day. So like
Nope.
it just didn't make much sense. So like let's see what that looks like at the end of the season. But if Florida didn't exactly light up the scoreboard either in that loss to USF. I mean, if you look, both programs had a single touchdown each and they traded a bunch of field goals, which is another big concern as well. I mean, yeah, USF has a good front four. They had a bunch of guys in transfer portal that came through there, but like that is a team that you should be able to move up and down the field with in your home on your home turf. They didn't do that.
No, I mean, to me, Florida is a dumpster fire. I never understood the intrigue behind Billy Napier. I never understood the obsession with DJ Lagway. I just don't get it. He's shown me nothing. He's shown me in terms, I mean, his stats look good, but in terms of commanding a game, in terms of managing a game, in terms of coming up and peak moments, like, yeah, he beat LSU last year. They beat Ole Miss and came through in that time, but like like again, that those are outliers to me. I mean, you saw DJ Lagway showed you who he was in this game, in the USF game. I mean, again, I absolutely have UF possibly beating LSU this weekend. I'll explain later on in the week why I think that's a possibility. But overall, this team is a dumpster fire. Like to me, this team is barring one of the greatest miracles in college football. It'll be the greatest miracle I've ever seen in my 40 years of watching college football. I don't see it. I don't see how. I mean, who knows? We're gonna find out on Saturday how real USF is. But if we blow the doors off USF like we did last year, I'm sorry. I don't have any faith in Florida. I don't see where it is. It's Florida State part 2, 2.0 this year. Like max 2 wins, I think realistically. I don't maybe 3 wins. Maybe if they can get over Kentucky and Mississippi State, but realistically, I only realistically see them get one or two more wins, and that's it. I don't think they're going to beat the rest of the teams.
It's an uphill battle, that's for
It.
sure. Yeah,
All
I don't
right.
know.
You ready? You ready for me to piss some other people off?
Yeah,
Let's head up.
go
Let's head
for it.
up north to South Carolina. Clemson, bust, bust. They are not good. I said this at the beginning of the season when I made my prediction. If we play Clemson, I think we can beat them. I'm saying this with my chest. If we play Clemson, we will beat them handily. Handily. I'm thinking 10 plus points. I don't think Clemson is good.
No.
They're just, you're down 16-0 at home against Troy. Troy? Wait, if South Carolina was next week, I still wouldn't excuse that. Like they're a big rival, right? They have Georgia Tech next week. It's not a look ahead game. That wasn't a look ahead game. Like, I don't get, again, and I understand people look at numbers and crunch numbers, but like you got to watch the games too. You really got to watch games and see how teams perform. I don't see the allure of Clemson. I don't think they may have blue chippers and 5 stars and all that. When you, again, like that one safety from Notre Dame said, all that rah-rah BS goes out the door when you enter those lines. And I'm sorry, what they're putting between those lines is not 5-star.
No, and if you look, like, go back and watch that Troy game, there's one stupid, like, fake field goal play that they run that kind of changes the tide late in the game. There's a chance that Troy puts more points on the board and has a chance of really winning that game outright. They looked the better team for the better part of 3 quarters. It's just a matter of a couple of fortunate, turnovers that goes Clemson's way that gets them back in the game. And I mean, I think what I find interesting about Clemson, and it goes back to, again, like, national media always wanting to make teams out for more than what they are. Like, look at what that team did last year. They
That's
backed their way
exactly what I'm
into
saying. Like,
the ACC.
look at their
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 games. I don't see anything on there that says elite to me.
No,
They
they backed
struggled with
into the playoff.
SMU. They struggled with SMU, who got their doors blown off them by Penn State. They got blasted by Texas. They struggled against LSU. They struggled against Troy. Like, where's the eliteness? I'm not
We're
seeing
kind
it.
of we're kind of in an era of college football where, like, the experience and the what's it called I'm looking for, like, the big theme from that original, season opener with LSU and Clemson was like, oh, it's Cade Klubnik, I almost said Mettenberger. It's not him anymore. It's what's the other quarterback's name from LSU?
Nussmeier.
That's Nussmeier, exactly. They're 2, like, 3-year starter, 3+ year starters. Oh, veteran quarterbacks. We're going to see some great stuff. And I mean, Cade Klubnik looked really bad in that game. And you saw that defensive pick six they had where they're backed up on their own goal line, where they
Yeah.
had the ball back up in the air and scored. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, in this day and age, the extra experience, who your guy is by year one. Year one and a
Yep.
half. If they're the one that's going to be leading the offense, they get enough experience at the high school level. They get enough experience playing 1 year in a system, and you're going to know who they are for the most part if you're evaluating talent. And sadly, with Cade Klubnik, he's never really been the guy. Year one, you thought maybe he's kind of spazzy. The second year, he ends up getting a little bit better towards the end of the season. You think he's going to make this, like, enormous leap forward. And as of, through 2 games, no, some people say he's regressed. I would say he's he's just been the guy that they've seen him.
Yes. Again, going back to what I was saying about UF, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't understand this whole, like, oh, they've developed, oh, they've gotten better. Where? Look, they're what are they? I think it's 0-6 against SEC teams. Like,
Yeah.
they can't even beat an SEC team. Like, I'm just, again, I'm cool with giving teams props. Like, I will always give, as much as I hate to do, I will always give Ohio State props because they prove it year in and year out. They're dominant. They dominate the Big Ten. They just reload. Justin Sane looks great. They've got Jeremiah Smith, like, proven like guys, proven studs. Like, I don't think Cade Klubnik is a top 5, top 10 quarterback. Like, I'm just, he's good,
No.
maybe top 10, but like, I don't think he's this elite top tier blue chip talent. Like, I would, if you're like, hey, you got Carson Beck and you got Cade Klubnik, I'm with not in a nanosecond hesitating to take Carson Beck. 100%,
No,
especially after what I've seen.
let's just look. Remember, he got the start early because they realized he was going to be better than DJ Uyunglele, and
Mhm.
that's not saying much from what the rest of his career that happened. And it's maybe he's a slight notch above, but if you look at what the overall like where baseline is right now in quarterback play in that conference, like let's look at the ACC. Like who are your best quarterbacks right now? Carson Beck is up there. For as much as we want to criticize Tommy Castellanos, he's doing pretty good right now at Florida State for quarterback.
But
Who's your number
that's
three?
why I wasn't
It's
against
not
Florida
Cade
State being
Klubnik.
number 10 because like again, what did I say? Elite teams like destroy inferior talent. And that's what they did. FSU did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. That's why I'm like taking them a little bit more seriously than I am a lot of other teams because I'm like, hey, like they're doing what they're supposed to do. And they beat a decent Alabama team. We don't know where Alabama's at. We're going to find out in a few weeks. We'll see
Yeah.
when conference play starts picking up. But again, like I think Clemson's a bust. I think, and I know we're only in week 2, and you're like, oh, there's so much football. Yeah, you're 100%. We are only in week 2. You are 100% correct. But when you look down that schedule, they've got some teams. They've got some teams that they're really going to have to compete with, and we'll see how the ACC schedule pans out and who's legit in the ACC. But if I'm taking the temperature right now, I'm picking Florida and FSU to go to Charlotte, like
Yeah.
a rematch of the rivalry game that's coming up in a few
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, but
You
I
know,
mean, and look at your quarterback rankings. I mean, like he's probably below. I mean, you could look at I just blanking on his name right now, who's also in the ACC. Haynes King from Georgia Tech, who's been
he's really
doing
good.
pretty well. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, so he's not a top 4. He's number 4 out of all the quarterbacks right now in that conference, and that's a conference that maybe gets 3 bids, maybe 2, the way it's playing right
Yeah.
now.
All right. You want to see what my third take is? Speaking of Tigers being a bust, let's
The
let's piss off
others,
let's piss off some SEC fans real quick. LSU is trash too. They're not number 3. They are not the number 3 team in the nation. I'm sorry. Like you only put up 27 points on Louisiana Tech. F out of here, bro. Miss me with that, please. Please miss me. Please miss me with that. Like I'm not. You've put up a total of 17 points against Clemson, 23 points against Louisiana Tech. I am sorry. That does not sound like the number 3 team in the country. I would
nope.
absolutely put Oregon, but then that would be 3 Big Ten teams in the top 3. I'm just, I don't, again, this is why I hate preseason rank. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, again, you want to put Ohio State up there? I got you. You want to put Penn State up there? I got you. They've got a ton of returning starters. They're putting up points, even though Penn State did struggle against FIU, which we can talk about another time, but maybe a warning sign for them. But I just, I'm not understanding the allure of LSU and some people picking them to win the national championship. I'm like, yeah, I would, if we were playing LSU, and again, I know I sound like a freaking homer, but I'm just look at what we're putting on the field. Look what they're putting on the field. I'm sorry. It's apples and oranges. And I mean that in our favor.
Yeah,
I don't think LSU is the number 3 team in the country.
no, they
Top
they
10,
haven't
maybe.
played.
You can maybe put them in top 10. But again, it's because they beat Clemson. And I don't think Clemson is a team.
No,
To,
I would, yeah, I would say they're not. Like, look at their resume doesn't look good. It's a preseason thing where, yeah, they went into Clemson, which is historically a tough place to play. They did not have the lead at the half. They were trailing Clemson on the road. Yeah, great effort. But when you look at what that Clemson team has done since, it doesn't look as impressive. If you look at what LSU has done, it is not very impressive at all. So are they a team that should be number 3 in the country? Absolutely not. Are we going to see that in the next couple of weeks? Yeah, probably. I mean, look, if they struggle against Florida, and Florida should come out as motivated as ever, and every game is their Super Bowl from here on out, uh, they should get their best shot. And if they struggle or if they lose that game, I think it's indicative of who they are. It doesn't make any sense that they expect these teams. If pollsters want to be lazy, just take the top 5 from last year's poll, make them the top 5 again this year, and just deal with it. But when they try to get a little creative and say that, oh, this team is on the way up, this team should be infinitely better based off of zero knowledge, based
yep.
off of zero observation, like I think, yeah, we are a little biased from what we've seen, and I think like as Miami fans, we have this cycle of happiness, right? If we beat a Notre Dame like we did at the beginning of the year, we're like top ranked in the top 10. It's great. We can watch all these games and say, oh man, we could beat their ass. Oh man, we're better than them. We can do all of that. And when we lose, we just don't want to watch any football because it's all, just
That's
depressing and
true.
sad. We want it to be good. But like, we do watch good football. And when you do know what good football looks like, you want to be hungry to consume more good football. And when you watch those games back, you're not seeing those matchups where it's like these two teams are at each other's throats. And that's why they're struggling to move the ball. Like, I think we can argue that that might be what Ohio State, Texas was. It was two very elite teams going at it who were struggling to move the ball because it was a defensive struggle and they were trying to lock
Yeah.
down their best players like Jeremiah Smith and Arch Manning. Yeah, I think we can get away with saying that. Did LSU and Clemson look like that? Hell no, it
No.
did.
Because you look at week 2. You can look at week 2, right? You look at both. Let's just use the examples we're
Yeah,
using right now.
Louisiana
The
Tech and
Ohio
Troy.
State, yeah, Ohio State played Grambling, and Texas played, I think, San Jose State. Both those teams got obliterated by their respective opponents, right? By Texas and Ohio State. Elite teams take out inferior opponents. What did we see with LSU and Clemson? They struggled with inferior teams handily. Like
Yeah.
it could have actually been, they could have been part of this whole upset week, right? So it's like, to me, it's like, I'm not, I'm the math ain't mathin' for me. And I know I sound like a homer when I say we could beat them, but again, we're doing the things that the Ohio States, that the Georgias of the past, that the Alabamas of the past have done. And those are trends. And those, by the way, are universal. You can go
Yeah.
to any decade, any year, and you could take those qualifications, those parameters, and say that's what every team that won a national championship and every team that was competing for a national championship, that's what they did. And
Yeah,
I
and you
just I don't see it. I don't see it with LSU. And a little sneaky spoiler pick, I actually have LSU losing to UF this week. I do.
and, you know,
I think UF's
they
going to
need
play
it.
as much trash as I just talked about UF. I think they're going to play their heart out for Billy this week. They beat them last year. LSU lost their center, their tight end, and their main edge rusher in that win.
Yeah,
I
they
think
need
it's
it.
yeah, and I think and they need the win. So again, if LSU falls to Florida, again, this just validates my point even more. They're not the number 3 team. I will tell you to well, do you want me to do 2 more? I got 2 more, but I could, if your time, I
Yeah,
can do one.
there's only one thing I want to add, and it's the
Go
one
ahead.
thing about when you say elite teams that beat inferior opponents, they do it also without opening up their playbook. Because I think something
Yep.
that's interesting is that, like, yeah, Carson Beck threw the ball down the field. He did have like a 30, 40-yard, bomb, which was great. But like every team has a post route now. Like it's not like there was any play call. There was nothing there that was deceptive by any means. And I
Nope.
think when you watch Pretender, when you look at like, SMU, for example, who just lost this past week, yeah, they looked really good in their previous win against like East Texas A&M or whoever it was that they played. But they were also opening up their playbook like crazy. I think that's something I want to go back and look at when it comes to the Florida State film too, because I know they played like Kennesaw State or something like that. I want to know
Mm.
how much of the playbook did they actually open up? Did they look like I thought they opened up their playbook a lot against Bama week 1. And I thought that was part of what their advantage was, is that like, hey, they're going to treat this game like it's their Super Bowl because they need that win, that statement win for week 1 to say that they're back. So I'm wondering how much more they put on tape for a team like Miami to see, because they really don't play anybody until Miami goes to Tallahassee in October. So I'm just curious about what that looks like.
All right, I'm going to give 2 quick ones and you pick which one you want to tackle, all right? First
Okay.
one. Chapel Bill is in ruins and it's a failed project. Second one, I think Oregon is actually going to go undefeated and will play for the Big Ten championship and possibly beat Ohio State.
I think the Oregon storyline is going to continue to develop, and I think it's something that we could touch on like next week and still be like relevant. I
Because
think
their
we have
schedule is
to,
super favorable.
yeah,
They don't have. Let me pull this up real quick because I just
but
want
I
to
but I
note this.
think we have to dunk on Chapel Bill
Oh
because
yeah,
I think that
absolutely. The
yeah,
only team Oregon has left on the schedule that is going to actually be a real threat, I think, is Penn State. Because
yeah.
they don't play Ohio State, they don't play Michigan. You know, I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Is that in
it's a
Happy
very
Valley
fair.
or is Penn State going out there?
Penn State, it's at Penn State, so they go to Happy Valley.
When's that game?
That game is in 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
well,
it's
then it's
not
certainly
this
not
week,
where
and
they're avoiding like,
so it's
Oregon's still a cold
September
place, but
27th.
I'll say it's not Happy Valley in, like, late November. So,
No, yeah,
it's a winnable
it's
game.
still in September. It's still in September. It's the end of September. So
Their uniforms are
again,
gonna pop in a whiteout.
I'm looking at this and I'm like, they get past Penn State, which I think they can. I think they might go undefeated. And get to
Likely.
that Big Ten. All right, so Chapel Bill
Yes.
failed
Yes.
project. I'm just calling it now. It's a bust. It's done. I know one game, but damn, was that game ugly. That game was just horrible.
You're 100% justified though, because it's not even so much the one game against TCU. I think what was really interesting is the reporting that came out throughout the offseason, because I think what we learned is that, and I don't know how much of this is Bill himself, but there's this like stench of like NFL arrogance
Yeah.
that came out of that program when they came in. And I'm specifically thinking of Mike Lombardi, the GM for the program, basically,
The
poo
33rd
pooing,
NFL team.
yeah, poo-pooing like everybody else in the conference, especially going after Mario Cristobal, saying things like, "Oh, well, he recruits, but they don't exactly make it to their expectations every single year with all their best guys." And then when you see the reporting that came out from ESPN behind the scenes about how they pretty much gutted the entire support staff, like you're talking about the hundreds of people that do all of the things so that your job is easier. All the things where as simple as like hotel reservations, as simple as notifying different players, families, and recruits of like what your scheduling looks like when you want to come in for visits. Because guess what? When Bill Belichick comes to Chapel Hill, you better believe everybody wants to go and kiss all 11 million of his Super Bowl rings, among other things that he probably brought with him to his office. When you hear the stories that have come out of Chapel Hill since they got there, it is an absolute dumpster fire
Yeah, it's bad.
operationally. They don't know
Mhm.
when people are coming in. They have kids like sitting in the lobby
I've been
waiting to
waiting
meet
for
with,
Bill, only to not meet
never
with him.
see him. Yeah, to
Yeah,
never meet. Oh, things
it's
have changed.
wild.
Or when they do meet with him, they immediately get put in front of like a scholarship saying, you need to accept this now. If you don't sign here now, we don't want you. And that is just, look, I understand that he comes from a different generation of talking to adults in the NFL and working with contracts, but that's not college. None of
Yeah.
that is college. So the fact that they had their comeuppance like that in week one, great, justified. Let it happen, and it should be a lesson to say that not everything is transferable. You can be this brilliant football mind that lives, breathes, bleeds, craps football every single day, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be a good fit for something.
Yeah, and I just think given his age, you've got to commit 3 to 5 years, and I just don't see Bill being here long enough. And after like those your reporting that you were saying, the reporting that's coming out of Chapel Hill, if it was the opposite and he was just like this monster recruiter like Mario was, or he even had a similar, I don't know, like allure to himself like Mario does to talk to recruits, I would say, okay, maybe he can turn it around in a year or two. But when you see what they put on the field against TCU, and again, who knows? Maybe we find out TCU is the Big 12 champion and they go to the college football playoffs. We don't know. But to me, I mean, it was just such an ugly showing. I mean, you have Kurt Herbstreit saying these guys are ugly, like in the third quarter. Like it's it's not good. And I
When they
just
put the headphones on the dog,
yeah,
when they
oh
put the
dude, I
headset on the
was
dog.
dying. And he gave him the clicker and then he put his
Yeah,
paw on the click. Like
like
a great TV, by the way. Great TV.
it's
Like
damage
applause
control. Yeah.
like applause to Kirk Herbstreit for saving that because I was getting bored of the game and like because that really got me back into the game. But I mean, it was just so shocking to me to see. And again, like the highest amount of points that Bills ever any team that Bills led has ever had on them, scored on them. Like there's just so many things when you watch that and you look at that, you're just like, eek. And we know, I mean, how many times has tried to rebuild in the last 2 decades? I mean, I can't even count. Like it's nauseating, right? It takes a few years. It's not you don't have an FSU situation like you did the other year where like you're going 2-10 and then who knows what they go this year. Like let's say they go 10-2, at best. Like you're not going to have that. Very rare. And especially at UNC. They call UNC a sleeping giant, but I'm sorry. I just don't. I think this is a failed project. I think if the game was closer or if they won, the jury would still be out. And because given the stories that are coming out of Chapel Hill about the recruiting, like that was known, right? And so you're like, "Ooh, okay, how is that going to fare with that coupled what we're seeing on the field right now?" No, I can't. I don't think Bill's got enough years or patience because I mean, how many?
Sleep, yeah. Sleeping giant is something that it's a North Carolina thing, where they say that because they just look at all of the basketball schools.
Yeah,
They're not football schools.
no,
They're a sleeping giant in the sense of they have a lot of money, they have a lot of support, but they are a basketball school. That's just
yeah.
what it is. That's the identity. Look at every single one that's out there. There's
Well,
one good
let's
thing
just
he's
call let's call a spade a spade. The ACC is a basketball conference.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it always has been. That's why they try to bring in Florida State to try to make it
Yeah,
more football-ish. Clemson was always on again, off again after 1980. Then they brought in Miami and Virginia Tech to bring some more football to it, and we just didn't do our job. And we also learned that their basketball referees are awful. But there is one good thing
all
he's done.
referees are awful.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're
Yeah,
basically football referees. It's basketball conference that they're just basketball referees out there on the field. But there is one good thing that I don't know if it's Bill directly, but it's somebody in the North Carolina football offices administration. They've done one good thing for Chapel Hill, and it's something that I'm starting to see across college football after watching some more games that I'm super excited about. And it's probably a boring topic to anybody else who watches, but the fake turf is gone. The
oh,
artificial turf is gone. They went back to being natural grass in Chapel Hill. They're going back to natural grass in a bunch of different stadiums where they, took out the grass a decade ago. Uh, you're not going to see as many ACL tears and knee injuries that are out there anymore. And North Carolina was always known for a place that had really, really good natural grass anyway. They were almost guilty of leaving it too long to try to slow down some faster Miami teams and other fast teams of the eras. So it's good to see that. I think some of that like NFL knowledge and some of that professional athlete like knowledge of knowing
yeah.
just the science that's behind the differences between artificial turf and natural grass are coming to the college level. They have all the money in the world. They should do it. They can afford it now. The other thing I wanted to joke about with Belichick was they keep talking about how there's the welcome to the NFL moment that players
Yeah.
have and that coaches have. Well, Sonny Dykes, a seasoned college football coach, gave Bill Belichick your welcome to the NCAA moment.
Yep. And it's a completely different game, and I think Bill's quickly learning that. And again, I'm not saying Bills will never be successful again, but what I'm saying is this ability to come right in, be successful, or even flip it around in a year. I don't see that being a possibility. And on top of that, given his age, I just don't know if Bill's going to be able to stick it through for 3 to 5 years to really build that program. But anyways, Rudy, we have another one in the books. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Rudy, for making it back. Maybe we can get Rudy back in for a week 3 preview later on this week. Until then, be good, y'all. Win this week. We will see you guys later on for the week 3 preview. And remember, go Canes.
Let's go.